Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Powerless Podcast. In this episode, I talked to Anthony Conti, who's the guitarist of the new metal hardcore band Resistor out of Long Island, New York. We talk all about Anthony's start in music. We got him to end up playing in a heavier band like Resistor when he hadn't really listened to the music of this genre and of this heavy degree too much in the past. What's coming forward for the band and some of the latest releases, songwriting process, all that good stuff. The latest song that they released that will be at the end of this episode is called Are You Happy Now? Definitely go check it out. This band is really, really interesting. They're a great beatdown, heavy breakdown band with an actual turntablist and producer in that vein in the band, kind of doing all those things live and more analog, like a new metal band would have from the early 2000s, as opposed to solely backing tracks. A lot of people do when they use those sounds today. So we get into all of that and much more. The band is currently on tour with Filth as they go through the East Coast, coming over this way out to Chicago, and numerous other states. So definitely check out if the band is coming near you. All of the information for that will be in the notes with links in the bottom here of the screen and wherever you listen to the podcast. And it was great to talk to Anthony. I really appreciate that he came on and jumped on with me. We did this one as a live stream on Twitch, as well as the recorded product that you'll hear today with a little bit of editing. So if you ever want to check out the episodes live, follow at twitch.tv/thepowerlesspod. Follow on social media at thepowerlesspod. Email me at thepowerlesspod@gmail.com. I have gotten in contact with a lot of cool bands, a lot of cool artists, a few good journalists that I'll be talking to in the next couple of weeks for episodes. So if you're interested and you hear this and you're, whether you're a musician, artist, producer, or kind of in the political or journalistic realm of things with episodes that I do in that vein as well, definitely hit me up in all those platforms. And again, I just really hope you enjoy this episode with Anthony. Before we get into the episode, just as a reminder, as we've seen over the last couple of weeks, continued escalation of violence, continued horrific rhetoric from both U.S. politicians and Israeli politicians in the ongoing genocide in Gaza, as well as the escalation of violence and genocide and apartheid in the West Bank for Palestinians, as the IDF and the Israeli government continues their violence and oppression on this group and this wonderful group of people. So definitely, I'm not going to, again, share the numbers here because the numbers are not very accurate anymore, as there's not really the resources given to adequately account for all the people dead and missing under the rubble. But it is well over 45,000 civilians. So just make sure to go to ceasefiretoday.com or GazaStrong.com. These avenues are especially ceasefiretoday.com. It's essentially a link tree that'll help you find protests near you, find places where you can donate money, find places where you can call your representative or senator, the president, your local government officials, to apply pressure as a public constituent and taxpayer to make sure that they know that this is not within their own best interest, not within the American interest, and certainly not on the right side of history morally. So again, go to ceasefiretoday.com, GazaStrong.com, to find resources to where you can quickly and pretty effortlessly do your part to make sure those in power know that the correct thing for them to do is to discontinue their support for this violence against Palestinians through weapon sales, through rhetoric, and everything in between. All right, so after that, we'll get into the episode with Anthony Conti, who is the guitarist of Resistor out of New York. All right, I'm here for the next episode of the Powerless Podcast with Anthony Conti. Is that how you say your last name?
How you say it, yep.
Okay, perfect. Who is the guitarist of, and I said this before, I looked at your bios and it's the exact same thing. It says hardcore new metal band out of Long Island, Resistor. I first found your band, I think, through, I had on, I think, the singer from Lost Becomes from New York, that he kind of mentioned your band. Yeah. And he mentioned your band as well as God's Eyes did as well when I had them on. And I checked you guys out. And the first thing I noticed was, like, you actually have someone doing the turntables and everything. It's not like every new band now that might do some of the new metal elements, but it's all it's solely backtracked or whatever.
Absolutely. but I loved it. It was like a sludge fest mixed in with some good 2000s, new metal vibes, and it was just absolutely great.
Dude, thank you so much.
So happy to have you on. I thought what we would do today is just kind of go through what got you started in music.
Sure.
From what I could see, you're also a session guitar player, producer yourself,
Yeah, yeah.
prolific online with videos you post and all that kind of stuff that all sound fantastic. Clearly
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
a pretty intricate guitar player. So I'd be
Appreciate
interested
it.
to see where you come from your music, the influences you
Absolutely.
had, and then dive into some of the songwriting process for Resistor and what you guys got going on coming
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
future. I know you just released a new song on Friday, right? Is
We
when it
did.
came out. Are You Happy Now? Which is a banger.
Yeah.
So we'll get into all of that. But to start off, what I like to do with these recordings is just kind of see where your headspace is at a little bit,
Yeah.
and kind of tell me what you've been listening to a lot lately. What would be on like your on repeat if you use Spotify or
Yeah.
the equivalent of?
Yeah, yeah. So it's actually really funny. And that, when I if we get to how I started playing guitar, we'll definitely get into it. But it's actually really funny. So I'm sure you've heard some of the songs, whatever. And like you were saying, like sludge fest, new metal, like it's so weird because I'm not that I'm not into like super heavy stuff, dude, but I love like super happy melodic stuff too. Like don't get me wrong, I love the chugs and I love the caveman stuff. Like that's
Yeah.
it's so much fun, but I'm like huge into pop punk and like easy core and
Oh, nice.
early 2000s like new metal. Like I love Linkin Park when I was growing up. I love System of a
Hell yeah.
Down. Yeah, lately I've been listening to like the new oh my god, I can't remember the name. Uh why can't I can't I literally I'm blanking right now, but I listen to this band called Action Adventure,
Hmm.
like Belmont, Capstan, stuff like that.
Oh,
I
hell
just
yeah. The
dude, I
new
just found
Capstan
this
record is sick,
dude,
isn't it?
I love it. Yeah, I've
Uh
been
huh.
really happy watching them grow, and I was lucky enough to see them a few times at our home venue, which is Amityville Music Hall, and it's a real personal experience. You know what I mean? So it's really cool. Oh, 4 Year Strong, love 4 Year Strong.
So sick. One of
Yeah,
my favorite bands of all time. Yeah,
yeah,
so I'm right there with you because they're good. You're talking about, you play, Resistor, and I'm sure we'll get into, like you just said, there's
oh yeah,
other music you're into, all that kind of stuff,
yeah,
other
yeah,
things
yeah,
you've written. But 4 Year Strong is like the band that has, poppy hooks for heavy people, right? Like
yeah,
because
yeah.
they have, I think of like when Brain Pain came out, I think that was like right in the pandemic.
Mhm.
Um, and just like there was the title track of that song, it's kind of like a polyrhythmic, just like straight up sludgy
Dude, those
guitar
guys are
riff,
yeah, those
it's
guys
so
are
sick.
unbelievable, just really cool. And yeah, definitely like happier or heavier music or happier music for heavy people, like you were saying, like definitely, because I listen to like a bunch of my friends like Mom Jeans and Hot
Yeah,
Mulligan, and I can get down with, I get it, but like when it's got like when it bounces, or like I love the bounce, dude,
yeah, yeah.
I like the head bops, like I want to feel into it, like that. I love the riffs. Like the big thing is like the guitar riffs for me, because I am a guitar player. So stuff like that is a little bit harder to get into. But when it's hooky and it makes me still want to like bob to
Groove a
it
little
like
bit.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah,
that really grabs my
absolutely.
attention the most. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, not to spend time on 4 Year Strong for
yeah.
forever, but like their EP they put out, God, this would have been like, I don't even want to think about how long ago this would be because it would date me on like the last time I went to Warp Tour, right? But they put out that EP go down in history,
Mhm.
and for me, like whenever the summer comes along, like I'm kind of like a seasonal person with pop punk and like poppy music. The
Yeah, yeah,
summer, like I can get into it with the a drive,
yeah, yeah.
with the windows down kind of
Windows
deal.
down, hair blowing in the wind, dude. It's a vibe,
That's
dude.
right. That's right.
Absolutely.
That EP is like perfection for me from them. Like the riffs you're talking, like they've got like the catchiest riffs that like if you took them from the major key and made them minor, they'd totally be like a
Oh, dude.
metalcore song.
Yeah, yeah.
I
One of my
absolutely love that shit. That's so good.
Yeah,
Uh,
one of my favorite, dude, because music, like, it's cool to listen to in your headphones, but it's something like it's different, like having the windows down, like making it louder, like it's just it's like you get to feel it a little more. Like I always love putting like Beat Down in the Key of Happy. That's like the one song that like really got me into them, and like dude, I'll still listen to that song all the time. But like they're
yeah,
it's sick, yeah. definitely.
Absolutely. That's just like I think another pop punk band that like I go in and out of, but like
Mhm.
was very formative for me when I first started like really playing in bands in college and stuff was
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Story So Far.
Oh,
And
absolutely,
and you know, they just
absolutely.
put out a new record and if they had put it out in like November, I might not have checked it out till the spring, but I've been jamming it like the last
Yeah, yeah,
several days since it's been out just cuz like again, like you said, it's like just a different feel to it when it's
yeah,
especially when
yeah.
there's like I don't know, it's warm weather for a change
Dude, I
and
can't
all
I
that kind
can't
of shit,
speak
you
to
know.
this. I can't speak to this because I haven't had a haircut in a long time, but it's that new haircut feeling when you're feeling fresh, you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
that's right.
Like that's like the vibe, yeah.
What
We were
what
actually in the van, dude. We'll put like me and Peter, who's our drummer, will be driving like in like I don't know 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and it'll be like nothing to listen to. And we're like, oh, this band just put a new record out. Let's listen to it. You know, we definitely like peeped that. And we peeped a bunch of random stuff that our friends posted. Just literally anything you could think of. If it's not metal, is like played in the car. Like we played literally everything.
I also get that too from you know because we had talked a couple weeks back. You all were on tour, and I could just imagine, um, you know, you're playing these heavy shows. You know, your band specifically is like full tilt almost the entire time, right? We'll
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
we'll
yeah,
get
yeah.
into you know
Absolutely.
very aggressive, you know,
Yeah,
very like
yeah.
you're saying different kind of bouncy, but very bouncy riffs and all that kind of
Still
stuff.
in your face. That's like
Yeah, right. If I was doing that day in and day out, especially on tour, I would not be putting on like some deathcore or something in the van.
oh,
It'd
dude.
definitely be some pop music or
Yeah,
something.
dude.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, what the big joke is I've been putting Sunday Morning on by Maroon 5, bro.
Oh,
Dude,
amazing,
and like
amazing.
every time I put that on, they're like, "Oh my god, not again!" And I'm like, "It's just funny." It's like a joke that's not funny, and then it's funnier every time you keep saying it,
And
and
then
so
you
it's
then you
not
pull
funny.
up
Like,
you pull up to like the truck stop or whatever off the highway. A bunch of dudes in all black, you know, jump out of
yeah,
this van and it's just like bumping Maroon Five. You know,
dude, yeah,
that's
yeah, absolutely.
fantastic.
Yeah, I go through like the early pop 2000s. Like
Yeah,
I went through my whole Shakira phase. Like it's just whatever whatever it is that time.
that's
But yeah,
awesome.
it definitely, you're right. It definitely gets a lot seeing. Well, one thing is cool is we've been lucky enough where most of the bands that we've been on tour with have been sick, and like I love seeing them every night. Like because like I was saying before, like if like songs that I have on repeat, dude, I get really really into like one album, and it's just over and over and
Mm.
over again. And they're like, "Holy shit, dude, you're playing this again?" I'm like, "Yes, this is on
Yeah.
again." Like, can you change it now? All right, after this song, you know. But
Yeah.
definitely hearing like just beat down and mosh music and stuff. It not that it gets old, but it's definitely nice to change it up because when you hear it like so much, like it definitely fries you a little bit, desensitizes you a little. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. And like no like there's very few people out there that are, you know, there's definitely like metal fans that
mhm.
will only listen to beat down music only, you know, if it doesn't have like, you know, a 7 string or 8 string guitar and somebody doing gutturals, they won't listen to it. But
There's
most
yeah.
musicians are not like that. You know,
Oh,
most
absolutely
musicians
not.
you can't only listen to the genre that you primarily make. That's just not how
And
you know what I mean?
yeah, 9 times out of 10, I feel like the people who end up in like X band, that's not even really what you want to be playing. You know what I mean? Like, dude,
Yeah.
like think about because some of my friends are like they play in like wedding bands and stuff. Like I studied like jazz music and stuff,
Mhm.
and one of them made the joke. He was like, dude, I just want to rip jazz gigs all day long and just solo and stuff. He goes, but Rihanna's gonna pay my bills, like so. I
Yeah.
can't really argue with that. He's like, I gotta play Jay Z. I gotta play a Jay Z song. He's like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
So it's
It
kind
is
of
what
way,
it is.
yeah, I gotta live it. But when you're a musician, you play everything. The fact is that
Yeah,
you play it.
absolutely.
So
And that's actually a good segue. You said, you know, I know you went to school for music. Was it music performance that you have a degree in?
I do, yeah. So I just
Yeah.
I finished at Five Towns College. It's a place around here. I studied like jazz and classical, so I got like pretty deep into it. Learned a lot of like music theory and stuff like that. Like how you should kind of handle yourself on like not just like metal gigs and like personal shows, but how you should network and professionalism and stuff like that, and like what it really takes to be somebody who like because it's one thing to be like yeah like I play in a band, I do this, but it's like where are your W-2s, bro? You paying
Yeah.
your bills with this? Like my teacher's like, dude, some of these guys have been playing in cruise ships, wedding gigs, they played with like huge guys, but it's never like, oh, they're in the band. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, they're backing this guy up. So it's a bit of a different, when it comes to each music scene, it's a little bit different of how everything is run and how they handle each other. You know what I mean? Like from
Yeah.
person to person or band to band. So it's very different. I mean, even from the metal scene to if you have like a pop singer, like it's all very different how each thing is ran.
how each band is put together. And because like somebody could hit me up and be like, hey, like I need a guitar for this one show. Okay, cool. And I'll play that one
Right.
show, and they could have somebody else that they want. I could never get that call back again. It's different
Mhm.
than being in your own band and representing yourself. When it's an image like that, it's a much more like dog eat dog world, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah, that
So
whole not that this is solely what you're talking about, but that whole
yeah, yeah,
hired gun music, like music realm of like, especially you're talking about big name
yeah, yeah,
artists. Like I remember I watched a documentary on HBO, I think called Hired Guns, where it was all about that kind of part of the industry.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
guys that say had like as an example worked with Billy Joel for like 20 years, but then since they were hired guns, when he decided he didn't want them, he wanted somebody else.
That's it,
The
dude.
20
Yeah,
years didn't matter, and they were
yeah.
gone, and people were there the next week to fill their space. It's a very dog eat dog world.
Yeah,
Is
you got to
very
remember,
much how
dude,
it is.
whatever you're doing, especially in a spot that's like really like creative, and everybody wants more. There's always somebody who wants it more than you do, and you can't
Right.
forget that. And you also, that goes to say you also shouldn't be, like it's always great to want more, but you should never beat yourself down with what you don't have. That's
Right.
a big thing that because it's really easy to compare yourself to other people and say, oh well, this person's doing this, and they did. I feel like I work hard. It's like, no, it's like you got to stop and smell the roses and be appreciative of where you are and always strive for more, but never beat yourself down or beat other people down because they're not at a certain level,
Yeah.
and a lot of times, I feel like I run into that, here and there. I feel like some people, especially when we play out of state all the time, it's a lot very different to see different personalities and different people, how they treat their music scene or how they treat other bands. And not that it's, ever bad or whatever it is,
Hmm.
but it is different, from how we do it on Long Island to like, let's say how we do it in, I don't know, like California or something, like small
Yeah.
towns and stuff, but it everywhere is different. Like really, like,
It's a
so
hell of a industry to be in at a professional level, to say the
yeah,
least,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Well, to go from that, because obviously you've got a pretty big trajectory there of what you're talking about with kind of being knowledgeable of all of these things and learning different facets and genres and
yeah, yeah.
music theory and everything like that. Let's go back before you got
Sure,
your
sure.
degree and all that good
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
right? And kind of tell me what got you really started in music. Doesn't have to be when you got into heavy music or when you got
yeah,
into
yeah.
music that started with Resistor, but go as far back as you can. What got you first into music as being a big part of your life? Did you grow up in a musical family? Was
So
it like school band? Was it a sibling? Was it,
yeah,
kind of start back as early as you can for me?
yeah, absolutely. So when I was in like probably like third grade, I think I remember being like, "Oh, mom, like I want to play the guitar. I want to do this." And she's like, "You really want to do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." So they like for Christmas or my birthday one year, they got me like the Squire guitar with like the cheap Squire amp. You know what I mean? And I tried,
Hmm.
and I remember this was like really before I had any kind of taste in music because I was a kid, listening to the radio. Like my parents weren't really. I mean, my mom is like really into like Metallica and stuff like that, so I would hear it, but there was never anything where I think I just thought the guitar was cool when I was little, and I was like,
Yeah.
like you're like, oh, I want to do that. So excuse me, got some guitar lessons, and I remember I was playing like the Beatles and like Iron Man, like really like easy, like kid riffs and stuff, and I was like, well, I don't really like this that much. Probably did it for like 2 or 3 months, and then the guitar sat like forever in my room, and then maybe like I don't know, 10 years later, I don't know how much the math is, but I think when I was going into high school, I started listening to bands like Red Hot Chili Peppers and Iron Maiden, and I started getting into it. And I was like, well, I have a guitar in my room that I never touch. I really like it would be really cool if I could play these songs. So
Mhm.
I actually got this game called Rocksmith, which is like, I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah, is that the one where it was like you could actually play a guitar with it and it could kind of
Yeah,
teach you how to play guitar? I remember I always wanted that one, even though I could already play guitar when that came
yeah,
out.
yeah.
I still wanted to get it, and never got it, but I do remember
Dude,
that one. Yeah.
yeah, so it's like Guitar Hero, except you get a cable and it plugs your real guitar into like the Xbox. And I just started playing that, and like that got my hands moving. I was able to play like without really playing it because it makes it a game. So I'd be
Hmm.
sitting there in front of the TV for hours. My hands would be bleeding, and I'd be like, "Oh my god, I can't touch it anymore. Like I want to keep playing." But I think yeah, and then Avenged Sevenfold was another one that some of my friends at the time, they had older brothers, they were showing us stuff like that, Five Finger Death Punch, and I was like, dude, I want to play it. Like that's so cool. So Rocksmith like got my hands ready. I think I didn't really know anything, but after that, I think when I was in a freshman in high school or in 10th grade, I joined School of Rock, which is like they just match you up with other kids. They give you lessons and you play songs and stuff. And that's
Hmm.
actually how I met our drummer Peter. His
Oh,
dad was a
cool.
teacher at School of Rock, and I remember I think we played like Cowboys from Hell or something like that together. And then I
Hell
hadn't
yeah.
seen Peter for years after that. But it kept, every once in a while I'd say hi. But I met a few kids from there, and then I started jamming, like, trying to write our own music, however crappy it sounded. But just getting into it and meeting kids, and being like, getting myself into situations where I definitely physically could not play it, but like making myself have to practice it, and because I really like, even now, like I just love the instrument so much. So like I love learning everything about it, and I love pushing myself, and
Yeah.
so I did that through high school. I just like I shed a bunch, got into like creating music a lot. I was always really wanted to like create myself once I like started playing the songs, like because with all the guitar players that I like admired and stuff, I was like, I want to do that. Like I really want to do it. And so I got to grow with a bunch of my friends when we were in high school. And yeah, and then I went to college for it because I was like, I don't know what else I'm gonna do. I was like, I want to play guitar. Like that's what I
Right.
want to do. So then I went to college, and that definitely was like the biggest boost I think I got. Some of my teachers, they pushed me so hard, and I'm really grateful for it. And I was playing like Latin jazz. I was playing like swing stuff, like blues. You know what I mean? I really got exposed to a lot of what the instrument had to offer and what music was as a whole. So I was looking at like European guys. Like I love Django Reinhardt, like gypsy jazz. Like sounds like
Hell yeah.
SpongeBob music. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like, then I got into intervals and Pliny, like all the really guitar intensive Animals as Leaders, like stuff like that. And it changed my music taste as a whole. But so it brought me back to other things that I started listening to and made me appreciate it a lot more. But dude, I've played like, some pop gigs here and there, like whatever somebody hits me up. If I have the time, I usually want to get involved with it. I love helping people like write music. I love writing music with people. Like had some of my friends sit here and I'll just track stuff for them and like give them options.
Yeah.
Like that's like, I think that's really like my favorite thing that I've done, just being able to be a part of a bunch of different things and grow as a musician every time, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So stuff like that.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, kind of going from college from high school into college and kind of taking more seriously, getting more into like the writing and composition side of things. Is that where, had you been in bands prior to Resistor? What were some of the different like projects you've maybe done? And then how did the band come together for you all?
Yeah. Okay. So going to high, like I had a band when I was in high school with a few of my friends. And we would just play like local restaurants. We had like our family come, dude, probably like, 15, you know what I mean? Like, and we're like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, this is so crazy. Like, I have videos somewhere. And it was just a great time. Like, definitely learning a lot, how to book our own gigs. Like, we just showed up and we're like, hey, like, we want to play here. Like, what do we do? And the guy's like, oh, these kids are back again. You know what I mean? Like, but that was cool. I wasn't really involved in like the local scene until I had joined Resistor. So I had done like some of my friends do like rap stuff. So like I'll make like loops, a few like here and there.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. So after that high school band, some of us had gone to make another band, which is like went from like, I guess I don't even know what to call it, like a mix of just all what we wanted to do. It was really no set thing. We're just jamming kids. Then we made this band called Deadlands, who are pretty popular now. We went and we did like some metalcore stuff. So I'm on a few of the songs. And then while all that was going on, I had met Anthony or Grambo, who's our singer now, at the skate park. And like we were just riding like scooters and stuff at the skate park, messing around. And a few months later, he's like, hey, like you want to come like join the band? Like we're going to play a few shows, go on tour. And I was like, sure. So that's how I ended up in Resistor. And then from there we went on, and Resistor definitely took up a lot of my time, and it was really difficult to balance like school and work and band stuff, because there were some semesters where I would be gone for like almost like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, with the shows and stuff. So I just became extremely overwhelmed and stuff. So I had to like, decide where I had to put my time and where I didn't, but I think most of the bands that I've done, I've been able to learn, from it and from the people that I've been with. So it's definitely taken me here. And now that I've graduated, I'm holding off on, going back to school for a little while because I need a break. I need to like, what I mean? Like
absolutely.
I'm just fried, like the stress from that. Like, dude, I'd be up almost all night practicing, like, like, because it's like, it's just so much. And then showing up and doing band and going on tour. Dude, how many times I've sat at the venue, like doing homework after we loaded in, like just on the laptop, like it sucks, because you want to talk to everybody, you want to enjoy it, you want to, be there, be helpful for the other bands, like just make sure the show goes on, because that's a big thing, is making sure, like especially when it can be so hectic, and things don't always go the way you want, like it definitely, I like being there and helping, you know, and trying to make
Yeah.
sure everything goes smoothly, because you don't want things going. It's supposed to be a good time, you know. It's supposed to be, you know, enjoy for the bands, enjoy for the people, you know. So
Yeah, I mean, it could be like I obviously I was not in a band that was touring as consistently as
yeah,
you all.
yeah,
But I just bring this up because I empathize with you. I'm a
absolutely.
teacher and I was student teaching when my band decided to go on our first tour, right?
Wow.
And at one point I had to go. It was like a I was the lead guitarist in a punk band, so like if I really couldn't make a show, they could perform the 4 chord punk stuff without me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But we went on tour during student teaching for me, and this tour started on a Thursday. So I had to I live in Northern Illinois. I had to drive out to Indianapolis
Oh god.
that night, play with the band, come back, teach the next morning on like 2 hours of sleep, and then drive from Chicago to Nashville, all while student teaching, you know.
Wow.
And you talk about feeling burned out. It was the same deal where I'm like trying to grade papers in a van that has no air conditioning, and
Yeah,
you're just like, I'm supposed to be enjoying this, and I am, but I feel like I might die.
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
At what cost, you know?
Yeah,
At what
yeah,
cost?
it's definitely something you don't want to make your norm when you're going on tour, to
Yeah,
say
yeah.
the least, right?
Yeah, but
Um,
I mean, look, if we didn't love it, we wouldn't have done it. You know,
right,
you like
right.
that's the thing. At the end of the day, I mean, you know, where we're at right now is we're doing this because this is our passion. You know, this is what we love to do, and we get to have a great time together. And it's like it's basically like you know, sleeping in the van and doing that stuff. It feels like a camping trip. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, you
yeah.
know, and fun like that. So, you know, we've been lucky where we get to meet a ton of people and have a great shows, great time, and enjoy each other's presence, enjoy other people's presence. You know, but we're doing it because we love it. You know what I mean? This is not like by any means a full-time
Of
job
courh,
yet.
it's
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. You hope, right? But
Yeah,
either way,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
one of those things too, where like bands at your guys' level, which I think it's tough when
Yeah,
you kind of have. You have a following outside of your local area.
yeah,
If
yeah.
you look at your not that streaming numbers are everything, and people
No, no.
can always have that debate on
Yeah, yeah,
what that means for a band. But like when you're at that level where you kind of do need to tour somewhat consistently
yeah,
and be out there and be visible, and not just like play a show when you feel like it on a weekend, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um, but yet it's a struggle on the financial level, where everyone also has to, for the most part, work some sort of job or have a bunch of other different ways of income.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's stressful, but it's good to remember, like you said, especially when you're so passionate about it as you clearly are and your band is.
yeah, yeah.
You just got to remind yourself it's a good problem to have. Like, you're fortunate to
Absolutely,
feel
dude.
burnt out. Not that if you have to
Yeah,
feel that
yeah,
way in the moment, but it's a good thing to like think about, at least in hindsight, when the tour is done and you get to lay down on the couch and pass out for two
yeah,
days,
dude.
right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, literally, so we just got fortunate enough that we had our home show. Like, we're still on tour right now, which sounds crazy, even though
Right.
I'm sitting in my room. But yeah, so today's our off day. We played last night. I slept till like 1:15 today. Like, I slept for like 12 hours, like straight. But yeah, like you were saying, like the good problem to have. Like, I remember being younger and be like, I can't find a bass player anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, oh, how am I supposed to find band members? You know what I mean? Like, so I know I've been there. I'm sure you've been there, you know, and
Or you find band members that are good, and then you realize you also need to find band members you get along with that also are not just good, but like are driven
yeah,
and won't be like a complete drain on you
there'll
mentally
be
when
a,
you're in a
there'll be a,
van together for hours and
yeah,
hours on
yeah,
end. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You want somebody who's going to be an asset rather than a liability. You know what I mean? Especially
Yeah.
when, you know, you're in the middle of nowhere and you don't know what's going on. Like so I don't know if you've heard, but Phil's van broke down.
Mm-hmm.
They came in into the venue and they're like, hey, like we got a little leak. And fortunate enough, our actual bass player Ian couldn't be on the first few shows with us. So our old bass player Gary, who's still one of our close friends, you know, like we were so happy that he came back and really excited that he played those shows with us. He's a big car guy, so he was able to like take a look at it for them. It was we were like real, we didn't know what was going on, you know, and we left the venue that night, so 2 nights ago. We were like, hey, we'll follow you guys a little bit and we'll see what's going on. And like I was sleeping because I was supposed to take the next driving shift, and they woke me up. I don't know, it's probably like 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, Conti, get up. I'm like, we're home? Like, this is sick, dude. Let's go. We're home. And they're like, no, 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 we got it. We need you to steer the van off the highway. And I was like, oh,
Sick.
that's where we're at. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So yeah, dude, because having van issues like that like just really sucks. And it felt bad. Like we tried to help them out, and like each one of us were like looking on our phones, you know, like trying to find like just looking for something, man. Because we've been in that situation before. Like we understand, and we didn't have any help. We were sitting in the middle of Jersey with just our trailer and a box of pizza and nothing to do
It's
for
like, well,
6
here we
hours.
are. Yeah,
Yeah,
like what
yeah.
else can you
So
do? Yeah.
yeah, so we
No,
tried to help, but you know,
I get it though. Like and yeah, it's like you said, that's a big marker there of wanting someone to be an asset and not a liability. Like that can be from anywhere as big as somebody being somewhat capable with being
yeah,
able to
yeah,
work on a van as opposed to having some mechanic work on it and you don't even know like
yeah,
how
yeah.
much they're necessarily charging you and all this kind of stuff to
Mhm.
just like somebody not being an asshole on the road after 4 days straight of shows
Yeah,
and
yeah.
hot sweaty summers and everything
Yeah.
in between. So it's all that to say, like, it's great that you've been able to kind of find the space, even when you're trying to, like, I'm sure you guys are all talking a lot of the times with marketing and trying to figure out how to get to the next level with the band. As you said, it'd be great
Absolutely,
for it
yeah.
to be the full time gig and all that kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah,
it's great that you can still have a very positive and great experience on tour as you are
yeah, yeah.
literally right now.
Well,
Um,
the amount of stuff that we've had to deal with in the past is like it feel like when you're going through it, it's like of course this would happen to us again. You know what I mean, dude? We've had our
uh-huh.
own transmission blow, we've had our engine blow, we've had our tire rotor destroyed, we've had to fix flat tires. You know what I mean? And like at the end of the day, like I was saying, like we do it because we love it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And like these are all things that come with it. So I mean, dude, like when you have something like really shitty happen, like you really don't want somebody who's gonna sit there and be like, "Oh, well, this is stupid, and this is why we're doing it." You know what I mean? Like you got to get like you. That's when you got to band together and be like, you know what? Like shit happens. Like the show's got to go on. How are we gonna fix this?
Yeah, you definitely don't want. Yeah, nobody needs that person that's like
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
middle of this situation that's like just bitch moaning and complaining the whole time. When it's like,
yeah,
well,
yeah,
what we got to move on here. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
And I think
Um, well,
I'm
and that
sorry.
that no, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, like, dude, in times like that, and as much as you want to play, make the shows and stuff, like the other thing is like we've come to realize like our safety, you know what I mean, and other people's safety is like the most important thing. Like our singer had like a hernia and it was really bad, and we were like, he was like, yeah, I got this hernia, and like showed like pulled his shirt up on his stomach, like, dude, we need to go to the hospital right now. Like, what are you
Yeah, what
doing?
the fuck?
And he's like, I
Yeah.
can't miss the show. We can't do this. And I was like, dude, we gotta fix you, bro.
Yeah, I can't imagine doing like the aggressive vocals that he does
Yeah,
while
yeah.
having a hernia is a good combination
So
in that it's either.
yeah, and like we're all like that, you know what I mean? Like we'll all just keep pushing ourselves, and sometimes we got to check ourselves, you know what I mean? Because we'll just like keep sending it and sending it, sending it, you know. But
Well, and
yeah,
you talk about burnout. That's like that's like the quickest way to burn yourself out is like
yeah,
you know, kind of the show must go on. Moniker for bands is there for a reason, but at the same
mhm,
time, it's like, dude, is it better to like kill yourself now or go or like start and tomorrow's a new day type deal, right? So
yeah,
so
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I totally get that, and it's good that you guys have that relationship together. You
mhm,
mentioned a little bit about how the band Resistor came together. I know at least from your socials it says that the very beginnings of it was as early as 2018. I don't know if that was with you and the band from
yeah,
the get go.
mhm,
But when it comes to your guys' band, obviously, like when I was looking through your releases, you've put out quite a number of releases over the years. A
yeah,
couple
yeah,
of EPs, a lot of singles. Um, what's the sort of you could tell me how it was at the beginning and if it's
yeah, yeah,
different now kind of deal. But what's the songwriting process for you all? I know you're a one guitar band with the turntables,
yeah,
bass,
yeah,
drums, vocals, very, I said this earlier, but like very new metal coded in
yeah,
that
yeah.
regard,
I
right?
think yeah,
But kind of tell me like what's the songwriting process for you all, and I guess we could say, and then we could go from there to specifically talking about the last couple of songs you've released and kind of where
absolutely.
where those came together. But yeah, when you guys write together, is it guitar, bass? You come with a bunch of demos? Is it you guys jam in a room? Is it
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of the other members might bring things? Kind of walk me through that a little bit.
Yeah. So definitely, talking about how long the band's been around, we've definitely gone through a few iterations of the lineup. And I
Mhm.
think things like that have definitely, changed, maybe for better or for worse, how we will do things. So back when I had joined the band right as the split with Senseless. I don't
Mhm.
know, like the gas mask looking one, right
Yeah.
when that was about to be released. So I just got in time for the music video. So I didn't have any writing in that one. But to my understanding is that I'm pretty sure I think they either came with riffs and went to the studio or like had the songs pretty flushed out. I'm not, I can't really speak to that, but
Right.
at the time, our singer was like trying to go for the whole turntable thing. So him and the producer, Anthony Lopardo from Westfall, right on Long Island, they were doing that together. So there was no other member, you know. So,
Oh wow.
so once I joined, and then like a week after, like the same week, there was another guy. His name is Sid, and he's a rap producer, and he does like 808 Mafia stuff. He works
Oh
with like a
sick.
bunch of dudes like that. So he's like knowledgeable in that field. He like huge into slip. Like he was just knocking on the door one day, and he came in. And he's like, "Yo, like, how do I be a part of this?" Like, so once I joined, he came in as a full-time DJ. So he was actually like a part of the band, you know.
Sick.
So then what we had done is we just started jamming in the space together. You know, it was like just random ideas and voice memos that we would just record together. No tracks, no, you know, online recording. I think
Mm-hmm.
eventually when we went to go to the studio, I did like the pre-production on my computer, like just the MIDI drums and stuff like that, just to bring, you know, something and save a little bit of money. But it was, for the most part, it was like that. And then, you know, things changed and, you know, swapped around. It was mostly just jamming. And that was how we did the New Age Enemy, which is like all the cartoon faces.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So some of those songs were like, Grambo had an idea. I had an idea. Some of it was like we just fleshed out all together. Like, but I think up until the actual moment that any of those songs were like recorded, they were always just kind of shifting around, changing. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it was like trying to go from memory and doing it live. Now, the next batch of songs, which is So It Begins, is with the lineup we have now, which is RC, our DJ, and Peter, our drummer, and me and Grambo. And no, I lied. We had our old bass player, Gary. And so what we did is me and Peter, our drummer, who's the same kid I met in School of Rock, um, so he's like my age. We would make like demos and send them to each other, like stuff like that. Like Peter wrote most of Meant to Be, and then we
Mm-hmm.
brought it here and then started messing around with it all together. But for the most part, that was like Peter. Friendly Reminder was one that we were all sitting in my room, like just like farting around with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
doing stuff like that on my computer. Like everybody's like chilling on the couch over here, like staying up till God knows what time, and have a nice day. That one was also another one. Like me and Peter like made on the computer, then we showed to everybody, and then we like went from there, like, you know, taking input and changing things around. And like one thing that's cool is, I think, going back and forth and like jamming things and making it a demo so you can kind of see it all together. It definitely helps, because it's like you never really get to experience your band because you're the one playing in it. You know, so
Yeah.
having something down that you can listen to and like kind of sit there and like soak in definitely really helps. Like we made that breakdown and like it was just a mistake in the computer. You know what I mean? Like, and like we
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
started like chopping it up. So like I think it's great to get both of like best of both worlds, you know, when
Yeah.
it comes to that, because I also know people who will write it on the computer and maybe they're not exactly happy with how it comes out when they start playing it. So I think the biggest thing is balancing it, you know,
Yeah.
because the other thing is like what we'll do is like if we're stuck at a part is like we'll rewind it so I can play through the last part and kind of feel into the next part. And
Mm-hmm.
like that happens, you know, you get really good like live feel for when you're playing it, you know, which you won't always get from listening it back, you know,
Yeah.
especially when you're not coming out of your amps and you don't have the noise, and you know it's tough to hear, you know, certain things, but it makes it easier, it makes it harder. And then also the new songs. So we've been working with Randy LaBeouf. We have four altogether, but me and Peter, most of us, we all like compiled maybe like 14 or 15 like rough demos, most of them finished, like for our, you know, like written through,
Yeah.
not like recording ready to go, but we showed up with, I think, the most stuff we've written like ever. And we got there and we're like, yo, like we're gonna make the best fewer, so, you know, quality over quantity, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
dude, we ended up cutting it so much stuff, taking pieces from one song that didn't even sound good with the other one, and then we're like, oh shit, that's pretty cool, you know, writing new parts and, you know, just going over stuff like that. But when we do that, for the most part, is like it's guitar and drums first, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then we kind of Grambo and RC, like our vocals and our DJ, they'll kind of work out of, you know, which pockets they want and then go off of each other. So things other than like the bass and guitar, like samples, like a lot of that stuff comes a little bit later, unless there's
Yeah.
something we know we really want to use. But like all of their ideas and input are in there from the start. So it's like, you know, that like, dude, my guitar, like when we're sitting in this room, is passed to everybody. Like
Oh, sick.
I can, like, if I want to say, yo, Peter, try this, like I'll like make drum noises like to the best of my ability, or like I'll program some drums, you know, and he'll be like, oh, that's a good idea, let's do this. The biggest thing I think now with working with Randy especially was like there is no bad idea. Like I
Mhm.
could have an idea and it might sound really bad, but like somebody else sitting on the couch could hear my idea and get another idea from it, you know, and you might happen
Mhm.
to like that idea better, you know, and then it makes the song even cooler. Or, you know, we all try something and we're like, nah, it sounds like crap. Don't do that. You know, we can all all right, that's enough of that, you know, like so a
Well,
lot of
that's
going back and forth and stuff. So
really cool because again, like the best of both worlds thing. I always think that's great. I totally understand why a lot of bands now both like, you know, maybe you know, especially if they're international or nationally touring acts,
yeah,
like
yeah.
consistently. Sometimes they're not even living in the same countries, right? So
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
then you go back to you know, the DAW on the given guitarist or
It's
whoever's the primary
all definitely
songwriter, and
very situational. Yeah, you got to work with what
yeah,
you
yeah.
do.
But when you can do writing all in the same set, or even if you're kind of doing a modern version of that, like you said, where maybe you're hooked into the computer and you're passing around the guitar until something
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of comes up. Like, I don't know. There's something cool about that with the band where both, like, you know, you get everybody's little bit of influences in, and also, you know, everybody feels a little, even if somebody adds like one little
Yeah, yeah,
transition,
yeah.
right? Everyone's kind of fingerprint is on the track, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And
Um,
there's definitely been disagreements. Like, don't think there
oh,
has.
I'm
You know what I mean?
sure.
Like,
I'm sure.
it definitely comes up. We're definitely like, oh, this guy's doing this thing again. You know what I mean? Like, or
Yeah.
like, dude, I do pinch harmonics everywhere. And I remember in the studio and our old producer, he's like, all right, listen, Squeaky, like you got to chill out. And I'm like, all right, got me. But yeah, definitely doing everything like that. The other thing is what you were saying, like, you know, everybody's different inputs and stuff. I didn't really listen to heavy music until I joined the band. I had them make a big Spotify playlist of like Kubla Khan, like Gideon,
Yeah,
Alcohol.
yeah.
Like, dude, I had never really like, you know, I'd never been like this heavy of music, so I had to learn for me. Grambo really loves like Limp Bizkit and like real new metal stuff.
Mhm.
RC loves like all 90s like hip hop and like, you know, like so we're all very very different, you know, and
Uh-huh.
I think having all of that together, like I think that's almost what gives us more of an original sound, you know, because we're all like just different stuff. You know, it's not like, all right, we're gonna make a post-hardcore riff and we're gonna have, you know, closed hi-hat breakdowns. You know what I mean? It's gonna be like, all right,
Yeah.
like here's a riff. Peter, go do some drums to it. You know what I mean? All right, like we'll do
Yeah.
this, add this. You know what I mean? Oh, Conti, try this. You know, like so it's
Mhm.
very like fluid. There's not like a one goal, but we've definitely gotten comfortable with what our sound might be, whether
Mhm.
it's changing or not. But you know, comfortable personally has been definitely a little bit more like
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to ask just because you have such, especially, you know, going to school for all these different things, and you mentioned everything from working with pop artists to you know, working with on jazz and blues projects, or working, you know, working in the theory within that and all that. Do you find, you know, because I find this more often than you think with talking to like primarily heavy musicians.
yeah, yeah.
Do you find that there's any influence there from those, you know, very not heavy but very influential genres when you're writing music, whether it's just like the approach theory wise or just like, you know, the rhythmic, you know, stylings and all that?
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you find that those things still sort of influence your music within Resistor, or are they kind of separated for you a little bit?
No, so I definitely think there's absolutely things and like that I might not even be conscious of, you know,
Hmm.
because that's ultimately what happens. Like music is a language, I think, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? And like you have to have the vocabulary to speak it. Not always, you know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
different things, but I think when you hear something you like, whether it's from a country song or a pop song or a metal song, you know what I mean? Like whether it's like unified hits or like a specific rhythm, you know what I mean? Like it becomes part of your vocabulary, and that's how you know it keeps
Right.
going. You know, there's ones I think in the like there's like a bridge in like one of the songs in Friendly Reminder, and it's like that reminds me of a few like the rhythm, like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
reminds me of like maybe not like a Latin kind of feel, but like it you know it puts the more like the snare in a different little spot and gives it a little different feel, and it could definitely like that rhythm could be somewhere else and you could hear it and be like, oh, like that sounds kind of like that, you know. But those things
Absolutely. Yeah.
remind me of different things, and then especially like, you know, playing so many shows and meeting so many people. I think another big thing is meeting, you know, other musicians and guitar players that I admire, you know, and seeing them play and seeing what works for them and hearing things like it makes me like think like, damn, like that's really cool. I want to try and replicate that, you know, like
Yeah.
one big thing is like there's this band called Luca, right?
Hmm.
From Chicago. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're sick. They're
I'll have
really
to
cool.
check them out. I'm from the area, so I need
Yeah,
to check them out. I have not checked them out. I'll have to do that.
yeah, they're really cool, and they're super cool guys. But they actually inspired me to write like some other stuff that I was doing. You know what I mean? Like, but like pulling things here and there. You know what I mean? Like, and seeing
Hmm.
so many, being able to see so many live bands, like definitely helps me want to write stuff. And then I mentioned the closed hi hat breakdowns, but dude, I think that shit's so tough. Like now I love that
Yeah.
stuff, and I never even heard it before. And Peter was like, "Check Gideon out." I was like, "Okay."
Well, I guess like another follow up question with that then is, prior to being in Resistor, you say you weren't into, like, obviously you had said you'd listen to, some you could call it vaguely heavy
Yeah,
music,
yeah, yeah,
right? But what got you kind of like, even though you hadn't played this music before,
yeah, yeah,
why were you interested? I guess like I mean, it could just be cool to hear it and you're like,
yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
fucks, but what was the interest there for you to join a band that's like this heavy and this like aggressive when you weren't really overly familiar with the genre prior?
Yeah. So I think when I spoke to Grandma, he's like, oh, we need a guitar player to play some shows. And I was like, sure, like I'll come and I saw that the band was doing some other stuff, and I wanted to like, learn what it took like to do things like this, how it works to book. And I was really interested in the business aspect. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I wanted to learn, how people, convey themselves and how you should act. Like I wanted to learn like the industry side, and
Hmm.
I've definitely been able to look up to him about like all this stuff like that, and I still ask questions all the time. I say, oh, what about this, and he's like, well, and he gives me like the rundown and stuff, but I wanted to really learn, and I wanted to grow and I wanted to travel, um, and I'm really happy that I did it because it's made me definitely a better musician, whether that's playing or carrying myself at a gig, you know what I mean, like
Yeah, yeah.
so I
Dur-
wanted to, yeah, I wanted to really learn about like the ins and outs and what it took because I know he's had plenty of experience, and I wasn't really finding that with like maybe like kids my age because I was probably like 18 or 19 when I joined the band.
mhm.
I'm like 23 now, and I do the stuff that I've seen, like it's so great that I know it. Like I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to do it and learn from them and and meet other bands and people, random people who have done it and just talk to them, dude. I love asking questions and hearing stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, he's taught me about gear, dude, so much stuff. But yeah, definitely learning a lot and being able to experience it.
Well, for someone that wasn't overly into this kind of music before,
Mm-hmm.
one thing I have to say is I was watching a few, because obviously I haven't seen you guys in person live
Yeah,
before,
yeah,
but I was seeing a few videos this morning and yesterday when I was just making sure to have a few notes for this. And for somebody that wasn't like overly into this at a live level, you really fit the part of like the like going balls to the wall live
yeah,
guitarist for the show. So one thing I was gonna ask for before we get into go back into the latest two songs you've released and kind of the
yeah, yeah,
differences
yeah.
there between your previous work is what are the live shows like for you guys? Did you guys kind of like, it doesn't seem like it's like some bands like really plan out what the members are doing on stage and all that. It
Yeah,
didn't seem like that to me. Maybe you guys are really good at faking that kind of thing, but like just the balls to the wall energy, which matches the music, because again, it's aggressive beatdown from like
yeah,
start
yeah,
to finish in a lot of ways.
yeah,
With
yeah,
obviously some cool transitions and production and stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Where does that come from for you? Did you just kind of see other bands when you first started doing this be that energetic and that all over the place and just kind
Yeah,
of run
yeah.
with it, or was that something that developed over time for you? Like where did that come from? Because man, you're like all over the
Yeah,
place,
I move around a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think the biggest thing is like you ever hear like laughing is like contagious, like smiling is like contagious, like
Hmm.
so the basic thing is like my point is like it doesn't matter how many people I'm in front of. Like when you step on stage or you put you pick your guitar up, like whoever hears you play, like you want them to be like, damn, they know what they're doing. Like that was good. Like you never want someone to be like, oh, like he's just got to get like what does he do? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you want to leave an impression. You know what I mean? And um, I feel like every time I step on stage, like I want to I want to get people into it. I want to make them feel like it's fun. I want to radiate that emotion from it. And if I'm standing on stage not having a good time, why should anybody stand in the crowd and have a good time? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like lead by example. And then there's been plenty of bands that have inspired me to move around more. And Luca is one of those bands. Like I saw them with just so much energy, and God's Eyes too. I don't know if you've ever seen
Uh-huh.
them live. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's definitely inspiring to want to, move around and be as energetic and be as contagious as they can be, because it's
Mhm.
like, even if you're not into the music, it's like, damn, like he's going hard, like he's enjoying it, you know what I mean? Like, and either way, like, if the crowd's not moving, because not every time people are throwing hands or doing this, like, I think it's just as important if people are standing there bobbing their heads, if they're fucking like throwing windmills and stuff, you know what I mean? Because you want people to
Uh-huh.
enjoy it. And because like, even if there's one or two people in the crowd, or if there's 100 people or 200 people, you know what I mean, you want to give them the same show,
Yeah.
and you want to leave that impression, like, damn, like these guys showed up, they ripped the gig, they played their hearts out, because you never know who's watching, like that's the biggest thing. So like, I
Yeah.
it all adds up. And like, dude, what am I going to stand there chugging? Like, I feel like that's not the vibe, you know what I mean? Like, I want to move,
Yeah.
I want to jump
Well,
around,
Well, that's the thing is like it's not like your music isn't rhythmically complex, right? Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
don't. It seems like you guys successfully so like very much focus on like rather than having you go like overly shreddy on a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
parts and all that. It's very like it's very like rhythmic and breakdowny and all about
yeah.
like the groove, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
so like
That's a whole
when
nother thing too. Like
yeah.
knowing there's a saying that one of my teachers told me, and it was like, take the horn out of your mouth. Like,
Mhm.
stop playing and listen to what's going on. There's a time and a place to be shreddy or rip a guitar solo, but that's not really what we're doing here. We're just trying to have a good time and play some breakdowns. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, do you really want, like, would you really want to hear like just shredding and sweep picking and stuff? Not that it's a bad thing, but over our music, it's not really what we're doing. Like, we're
It
there
wouldn't
to,
be the vibe. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, and we do create the vibe that is on us to,
Yeah.
decide what it is. But I feel like it's easier for me to get into it, and everybody else, you know what I mean? Like, the thing is, like, it's just about having a good time and having fun, really, and that's what we're going for.
Well, and when you make it that way, and you're someone that's I've seen the videos of things you've posted like riffs and stuff that are
Yeah, yeah,
outside of the band that like they can be very shreddy and very all over the place and noodly, right? When
yeah,
you
yeah,
can do that and then also step away and do music like this and just play the guitar for what the music calls for,
yeah,
then
yeah.
you also get to have more fun on stage and not sit there and stare at the fretboard nonstop,
Exactly.
and
There's
so
a
it's
time and a
great,
place. There's a
yeah.
right tool for every job. That's like what, kind
It
of the
reminds me
idea.
of I don't know if you know the guitarist Joshua Travis. He's like he played in Glass Cloud, the Tap Dance Extravaganza, and like very complex bands, like very like
Yeah.
progressive metalcore type vibe. And
Mhm.
then he got added to Amur when Amur kind of came back with like all new members outside of the vocalist. And like I was never even a big Amur fan, but I listened to them because Josh joined the band, and I was like, I loved all the music he made.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it went from him doing all these crazy things to just like sludge fest. And he got
Yeah.
interviewed like right after their first album came out with him in it that everybody loved. And they're like, yeah, but why aren't you doing all this complex shit? He's like, because that's not what we're going for. We're going for the
Yeah.
heavy, like dumb, what some people call dumb guy riffs kind of. And
Yeah,
then just like,
caveman riffs.
yeah,
Caveman.
caveman. Yeah, and I
Yeah,
always say kind of like knuckle dragging music, right? And
exactly.
and he was like, and it's perfectly for what it is, and also I get to actually have fun on stage and not lose my
Yeah.
mind trying to make sure I hit like the 64th note in a sweep.
Yeah, yeah.
All that to
That's
say,
yeah.
it's like it's good to be a prolific musician, as I'm sure everyone in your band is, like, and the music is so intricate. I don't mean to say it's not, but just
No,
in a
no,
different way, right?
absolutely,
But
absolutely. Yeah, no
but
offense.
it's
Right.
good to be that prolific and then also choose sometimes to, like you said, give the rest, have the gaps, and let the just like the one liner right before it gets brutal just
Yeah, yeah.
stand on its own.
Yeah, silence speaks volumes. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like,
yeah, and that's a good lesson for me to learn, because especially in metal, where sometimes depending upon the subgenre, people can try to see like, can we do 250 BPM, doing
yeah, yeah.
sweeping parts on. It's like sometimes it's okay to have a rest in there and
I
breathe
mean,
for a second,
there's bands, and that's their thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, of course.
I just saw like a few weeks ago. I saw Born of Osiris,
Oh
and
yeah.
dude, phenomenal. Bro. They're hitting every note beautifully. Like, their harmonies are insane, but like that's their vibe. You know what I mean? Like, they shred,
Hmm.
and there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that's the vibe, dude. They show up with some of the most beautiful guitars I've ever seen. Like, but
And
they
and
show
just
up
some
and
of
they,
the most insane vocals ever on some of those parts too. It's
yeah,
all
yeah,
just chaotic and awesome. Yeah.
yeah, and they're super tight. But imagine if they were like, has some breakdown. I had some part where it was like us, where it was like real sludgy. You'd be like, that's a little weird. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, right. There's a time and place, like you
yeah,
said,
yeah.
for everything. Of
Maybe,
course,
but
of
it's
course.
like, but that's like the the vibe that they're created. They like to push their limits and play those shreddy
Mhm.
parts and do that. So
Yeah, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with all of the above, right?
yeah,
To go back to the music a little bit, we broke down a little bit of all the. So one thing I wanted to bring up, I forgot to bring up when we were talking about "So It Begins" before we get to the latest two songs, is the song. It was the first one I heard from you guys. I just clicked shuffle. I didn't want to
yeah,
pick like but it was the have a nice day, fuck you song.
yeah.
What kind of pulled me in was not only was there like the scratching and the clear new metal influence over like these very heavy, kind of modern metal beatdown riffs and stuff,
Yeah.
but it was like the very interesting like sampling choices of like kind of like a voice, like someone kind of making just kind of like a
Yeah,
muttering. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And it was like
yeah.
the first time I had really like noticed that in a song,
Mhm.
like that kind of choice over like a heavy sludgy breakdown. And then I
Yeah,
noticed you guys kind of have that throughout several of your songs, right?
yeah.
So, you talked about the music writing a little bit, but I'm just interested where do these ideas for these very like unique samples that, it's not even like a one-off, like it's over the breakdown rhythmically. Like
Okay.
it's a very, very like purposeful choice. So where does that idea come from? Because it's unique and very cool.
So that is all of our DJ now. I was telling you, he's like
Yeah.
into hip hop and stuff like that. He's a huge like movie and like pop culture buff. Like
Uh-huh.
so he works on TV shows. He just worked on the new Ghostbusters movie.
Oh,
But he, like
sick.
there are things that he'll pull out of his ass and be like, I'm gonna put this here. And we're just like, okay, do it. You know what I mean? Like we trusted, like he knows all the things. He started messing around with this one sample. It was like, you gotta stay gaming something like just memes and stuff, and it's like
Yeah.
hilarious. But it's like, yeah, he just has these ideas. Like he'll hear a part and he'll be like, oh, this is the vibe for this. And he'll just cook on that, run on that like crazy. And he gets really, really into every single detail, really into every like nuance. He makes sure like the continuity is all the same. He's always thinking about what is somebody else thinking about. He's very into that
Yeah.
creative thing, and he takes his stuff very seriously. When we went to the studio to record, I think the last stuff with Randy, like he probably had like over 150 samples, like just like one-offs, and then like a ton of like random beats and a ton of like scratch pattern, like dude, things like that. And like he knows where he wants it, and he's like he just gets into the groove and he just doesn't stop. Like
That's so sick.
he deep dives every little thing. Like
I
yeah,
love that. That's awesome. Because again, it gives your band like a very unique element that I don't think I've heard, and really any generally heavy band,
yeah,
let alone like a beat down like new metal band throw something like that in there. So that's really,
yeah,
really cool.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
to go from that, the last two songs, and you said two more are coming, from this latest session with Randy, who, if anybody doesn't know, has worked with people like Kubla Khan, Dying Wish, which Dying Wish's latest record is like arguably one of my favorite records of the last several years, like
Mhm.
so good. Um, what's it been like working with, I should have taken, I didn't see who you guys worked with prior, but what's it been like working with a producer like that? Do you find like it's a pretty easy push and pull with like what he brings to the table? And just for people that maybe wouldn't know, because the producer label is so fluid, like
Yeah, yeah.
what does he bring to the table when it comes to the writing and production of the music?
So the biggest thing I think that Randy really did is he really steered us in the right direction. Like he was able to take ideas that we had and be like, oh, see if you try this. I mean, he was the one that was like, we're gonna try everything. Like he was the
Oh,
one that
sick.
was like, we're gonna work, dude, because like we would be working for at least 12 hours every day, like just straight through. When I track guitar, it was like I did 12 hours one day and 14 the next. Like we just sat in that chair and my back was killing me by the end of it. But like he just works so hard and he holds himself and everybody who works with like to the standard of like professionalism and doing it, and trying new things. And you know what I mean? Like he's just been very, very, I'm not gonna say like boot campy like that, but like very like we're gonna get this done and we're gonna work our asses off. You know what I mean? And we're gonna try this and we're gonna do this. So definitely was polishing some ideas we had and showing things, maybe bringing things different, maybe bringing things to light differently, like changing, like, oh, the guitar doesn't have to be so loud here. What if we put this in the back and the bass kind of comes through? You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
choices like that. There was one thing that I never thought of in my life, which is so weird. So we had like, in one of the songs that we don't have out yet, there's a breakdown part. There's a whole section, and like it goes and then it like chugs and then it goes back to the same part. And he's like, oh, like I do this all the time. And so the whole first part, first 8 measures are like 150 BPM, and the part that's like chuggy is like 35. Like he just drops the BPM a little bit just to make it that much heavier. And it's like, dude, I didn't even think about something like that. So it was a
Uh-huh.
huge learning experience for like writing and vocally and for the turntables and like where things are going to sit, how much preparation needs to be done before we show up and then what's expected of us on that kind of level. But yeah, it's been a huge learning, humbling experience being in there with somebody who has the credentials that he does and has that work ethic and stuff. It definitely showed us how to be a little bit more, I'm not gonna say on top of it, but like thinking of more things,
Yeah, yeah.
like open-mindedness and like that word, dude. It was just such a experience. It was so sick, dude.
Well, and it's a good reminder of like even with a band like you guys, where it seems you're more collaborative, I would say, than like I said, some a lot of modern bands now where you'll talk
Yeah,
to them and it's like the singer or the guitar player, or maybe the drummer, or the people that write 90% of everything. You guys have more of a collaborative effort, but even within that, you could still be putting yourself in a box when you think you're going outside of the box. And so just
yeah,
bringing somebody in like that, that's like not only, um, not only like prolific in what they do, but also has worked, a pretty big gambit in the heavy music in general, like Kubla Khan and Dying Wish, just as
oh
two
yeah,
examples, heavy bands that sound nothing alike. Right.
yeah, yeah.
So that's really cool, and it's also cool that it seems like it was a positive experience, because I
Oh,
know
dude,
some people will go to somebody like that and the result is great. Like I've talked to people that have maybe worked with like Will Putney or
yeah.
Dan Braunstein or some of these other people like that have
Mhm.
worked on these prolific, modern metal records, and they're like, yeah, the result was great, love the producer, but it's like, God, it was grueling. Like God, we were like butting heads even, and all this kind of stuff. But the product was great,
Dude, yeah.
right?
I mean, it
Um,
happens, and to operate at a level that we like to, or like even Kubla Khan, like or like bigger bands, you know what I mean? Like it takes a certain level of um of work and certain of dedication and putting your nose to the grindstone and dude, because not everything that we did was like great, and having to hear like, oh well, this is like we could do better than this, you know what I mean, on
mhm.
stuff that we try, like wasn't always the easiest thing to talk about or do it, but it definitely put us, I feel like, musically into the next category, for the next step for the band, and a little bit more polished and
Yeah,
original kind of thing. So I think it was great for not just us personally but the band. It pushes us even harder,
yeah,
and
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 and that's what you want. That's why
yeah,
you pay
yeah,
somebody to
yeah,
to be your producer, right?
yeah,
Well, that's great. It's good. It's good to seem like it seems like you guys like really just like hit the ground running and like have a very constructive attitude on all this, which again is like, a huge part of the battle with like you said, trying to be a Kubla Khan or another bigger
yeah, yeah,
heavy band. Like, there's a reason why whenever you hear those people in any interviews or you see their tour schedule or you see the quality of music they put out, there's a reason why a lot of the biggest bands you ever hear of now are also the hardest working. So like that's a
yeah.
that's a
And
that's a
dude,
that's a great thing to state.
the music is like only like an eighth or like a
Yeah.
four of what goes on. I mean, there's so many other things that have to go into doing things like this, and I
Oh, you,
mean,
you got to
all
be a
these,
content creator. You got to be you got to be a business manager. You got to be a
yeah,
PR team and do all
yeah,
that while working another job. Right. So
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
but, but again, the latest two songs, Are You Happy Now, which just came out on Friday from the recording of this on the 24th. And
Mhm.
just before that, you had put out I Am Nothing. Like you said, like makes sense that you were working with somebody this capacity, kind of like the next leg up for you guys. Not that the
Yeah,
previous
yeah,
songs weren't fantastic, but like,
yeah. Definitely, you can
the,
definitely hear the growth. Absolutely.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah,
like the mix alone is just like so explosive. It's gnarly.
yeah, yeah.
What can people expect? Not just from these songs, but from you guys in the future with your music. Are there things
Yeah,
just trying to push the boundaries on how sludgy you can go? Kind of like
yeah.
what can people expect? I guess from if they haven't listened to them, these two newest songs and the other ones you're putting out, and kind of the music that Resistor's putting out going forward.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna try and like I think the big thing is like our personalities are like we try not to be like a tough guy band, or like I think we're definitely all about having a good time and
Hmm.
bouncing and wanted to like go have fun. So I think we're never gonna be super disgustingly sludgy. We'll have some parts that make you go, oh damn, that's heavy. Or that's that make you make the face. But for the most
Yep.
part, we're trying to keep it heavy without being too over the boundary where it like really polarizes, like
Yeah.
and like listeners or people who might be enjoying it. And I think we're gonna keep leaning into the samples and keep trying to have it be a good time and have it be kind of what it is now, but just a little bit more polished and become the best version of ourselves that we can. You know, definitely have some heavier parts, definitely maybe have some lighter parts, but still be, you know, ourselves and authentic. You know, I think
Yeah.
another thing is like we kind of feel like we just played with so we did a run with Southpaw and Surface, or two straight hardcore bands who were phenomenal, by the way. If you have a chance to catch them, you absolutely should. But you know, we fit on a bill with them, and we're not hardcore by any means. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
by any means. And then we've played with God's Eyes. You know what I mean? Who's
Mhm.
like they're all about the controlled chaos kind of. You know what
Yes.
I mean? Like that kind of vibe. And like we played with them. You know what I mean? So in a way, it kind of like we're kind of at the weird in between where it's still heavy. You know what I mean? It still kind of grabs people's attention. And I'm sure that, you know, there's with anything, you know, not everyone's going to love everything. And some people might hear those like talking samples and be like turned away, you know what I mean? Because it's not super heavy. But I think I hope that, you know, people who listen to like hardcore or listen to, you know, that's crazy beatdown stuff or listen to the straight stuff can all bob their heads and be like, you know what, I fuck with this. This is kind of cool. It's a little bit different, you know, and
Yeah.
it's not overbearing, you know, even though we definitely have some, you know, heavy parts, but for the most part, it's, you know, it can be enjoyed by most, and it bridges the gap a little bit, you know,
Yeah.
cause I'm not super, none of us are, other than Peter loves like really like disgusting stuff, like really like knuckles dragging music, you know what I mean? But
Yeah. Yeah.
but he's one who loves everything. Like he showed me
Mm.
so much random music. But we definitely want to keep it, you know, somewhat in the middle, like in the middle, in between, where it can be, you know, enjoyed by everybody. It is kind of accessible, you know, even if you're not really a metal person, you might hear have a nice day and be like, oh, like the chorus is kind of cool. You know, I wasn't really into scream before, but you know, I just bopped my head, you know,
Mhm.
or like somebody who's, you know, maybe into like, I don't know, like um Avenged Sevenfold or something, and be like, oh, that breakdown was kind of cool. Like, oh, the guitar lead is kind of cool. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not by any means, you know, shredding like those guys, but you
Yeah.
know, it definitely is not like, because you can't really show somebody like Dillinger Escape Plan who only listens to like Five Finger Death Punch. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Definitely not. Yeah.
no, you can't do that. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you need like that gateway band to get you there. You know what I mean? Like you need that kind of for, you know, step away from that thing, and you know, maybe we're that for some people, or maybe we're the uniting thing, but I think we're definitely going to stay we're definitely going to try new things, but I feel like our personality, I feel like for the band, is definitely, with this new stuff, has definitely been a little bit more established. I think we're
Mhm.
going to lean into it and just try and discover ourselves a little bit more in there, while still trying to maintain the same attitude, you know what I mean, the same kind
Yeah.
of like bop and you know, good time and stuff like that. I don't think, you know, if that makes kind of sense.
It does. It does. It absolutely does. And you can kind of see that from the latest two songs. Again, I'll be stoked to check out the other two when they come out.
Yeah,
And
dude.
thanks so much for your time on this. I just have a couple more questions for you. Obviously, as you said, you're going on tour, or you're on tour literally right now.
Right
This
now,
will be
yep.
out. You know, the polished, edited version of this will be out next week, likely.
Sure.
So, you know, you can kind of plug where people can find you if you're still on tour at that time, as well as maybe what's going on, you know, what you guys are hoping to do touring wise or whatever else over the next couple of months.
Yeah.
And then just kind of plug where people can find your band and all those good things.
Yeah. So you guys can find us at We Are Resistor on Instagram and YouTube, Resistor on Spotify, on TikTok. We Are Resistor. We're going to be on tour with Phil for the next 2 weeks. After that, we're going to Puerto Rico in September.
Sick.
So if anybody's over there, maybe come hang out with us, have a little fun, bop around a little bit. And then some other stuff we haven't really announced yet, but just, you know, tours here and there, trying to stay active. And then I think the next single will be out in a month or two. I think maybe late August, but stuff is happening, and we'll be around, you know, trying to stay busy and stuff. And we always have goofy videos and stuff. So if you like a laugh, come follow us or something.
I saw and I wasn't even aware, because I'm so like not plugged into like the newest viral video that goes on online or whatever, but I saw the one that you guys just posted, I think today or yesterday, of mixing your latest song with like that, I can't even say it out loud, but like that, yeah, the mixing that in, and it just like just punched right in.
Dude,
and I just thought that was so fucking funny. That was great.
Dude, that thing has been blowing up. We were the other night when we were in Maryland, we were loading the van up like in the middle of the street, and these dudes are walking by like talking about stuff like that, and they're like, oh, you just gotta like do this, and I'm like, yeah, hit it with the huck too, and they just turn around like dying, and then like people from across the street started yelling huck too, like, dude, so it's everywhere
insane
now, like,
yeah,
just stupid memes and stuff. Yeah, but That's just how it happens. It's just goofy stuff, you know. And then we just try and hop on the trend. You know what I mean? And
yeah, you got to. That's like I said, it's part of that. It's part of that. You know, being a
content creator.
Yeah, being a content creator along with being a musician, right?
You got to be both nowadays.
Yeah, along with a million other things. Last thing I'll ask you before I let you go here, or two things, I guess. All right, there's a hypothetical I usually end the show with people that seem fun. You seem fun, so I'll ask you this. And then I also always play a song at the end, so I'm guessing we'll play Are You Happy Now? But you can always pick a different one if you want.
Yeah.
But the last question I'll ask you is, it's kind of like a hypothetical. Say you're either the sole member left of Resistor, everybody else leaves, or you're going to start a new band. You get to pick any members of any projects, living or dead, that you can kind of make your super group. You know, like your what's it called? Fantasy League rock band, I guess, right? Who would you throw into your band?
Into Resistor or just like my band?
It could be Resistor if you wanted it to be Resistor, or it could be a completely different. You know, we've talked about you're into poppy music, you're into all these different things. You could do whatever you wanted.
I really, dude, I feel bad. I hate to be the guy who says that they're really happy with the way it is now, dude.
No, I get that. I get that. But I'm gonna hold you to it. Okay, let's say a different project. Let's say a different project then. Say a different project. Just dream lineup for a band. You know, you could pick
lineup.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't even know. I would basically steal Aaron Marshall's entire band, like Intervals.
Oh, from Intervals.
Intervals. I would steal his entire band, and then I would take Pliny and make him the other guitar player, and I would force them to give me guitar lessons all the time.
There you go. Going instrumental too, huh?
I would definitely, that's what I would do. And I would just soak up all the knowledge I possibly could.
So you're basically saying you're going to take, well, I guess I'm saying this, but there's still Animals as leaders and a bunch of other people. But you're basically saying you're going to take all the best musicians from, like, you know, modern metalcore adjacent, you know, instrumental bands and make them your band. That's kind of what you're going with.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. Yeah. I'm going to throw myself right in the deep end of the pool and probably drown. But in like 10 years, dude, I'll be crazy.
Hell yeah. Well, I like it. Hey, you gave me an answer. I'll take it. That's a good one. Yeah.
Sweating like nobody's business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
and then
Richardson. And
then you just take them both on tour. You take them on tour at the same time as Resistor to have the ebb and flow of the different kinds of music. You're good to go. You just have to perform for 2 hours every night. It's no big deal. You'll be fine. Your arm will fall off. It's no big deal, you know?
Dude. Before I even know it, I'll have the worst carpal tunnel ever, and I want to be able to touch a guitar ever again.
That's what we're all really going for here, is just, you know, ruining your career as a musician. No, I'm just kidding. But
who can destroy their bodies first? That's
right. That's the real musician way, though. That's
why we have so much gear. That's why we do
that's
it.
Right.
And
that's a perfect place to end this with talking about getting carpal tunnel and ruining your ability to play guitar. No, but thanks so much for coming on, Anthony. I really appreciate your time. And I'm guessing, would you want to play Are You Happy Now at the end of this, or is there a different song you want to play from your catalog?
Dude, play it.
All right. So for the recorded version, again, we're gonna have the latest single from Resistor called Are You Happy Now on the Powerless Podcast. Thanks so much for doing this. Appreciate it.
Thank you, bro. Thanks for having me, dude. It was a great time.
Resentment about to explode. These words are my power, my interest of you. The whole world's watching, the look in their eyes, staring through me, watching my every move. Expectations are not what you want me to be. Are you happy now? Praying on my downfall. Is it over yet? Gradually, you played yourself. You don't see the world through my eyes. I'll see a blood going down my fucking mind. And all you do is flip your fucking trace. I want to live, follow the truth. Just a best